Hey, good morning, class. Let me first start off this week by just reminding you of the fact that in the next few weeks you will have a paper that'll be due. That paper on the second temple period, the intertestamental period. And I know that the paper seems a long way off, but you just have to trust me. It's going to be here before you know it, and so I'd make sure that you ought to make sure you start really reading, doing some research, because you're going to need to find some good sources that will help you kind of flesh out that particular period. Certainly, the period is described in our textbook. However, the textbook doesn't give a lot of the details for that period that can be found in other sources. So make sure you check that out. Also, you might want to make sure that in the special topic that you choose, whatever that might be, a particular period or person or ideology or sect, whatever the case might be, make sure you get a couple of sources specific to whichever you choose, because that will really help provide a lot more just meat, if you will, to that particular section. And a lot of students make the big mistake of really just relying on the textbook. And the textbook is good. However, in some instances, it's just a little too general. So make sure you do some good research. Also, you'll need to have bibliography. So check out the proper forms for the big bibliography. And also it includes footnotes. So make sure you focus on that as well. Now, I checked out the quizzes, and I was pleasantly surprised. You guys, as a class, really did well on that quiz, and certainly I know that some of you didn't do as well as you would like to, but I think that now that you kind of have one under your belt, you understand what the quiz looks like, and they're all basically the same format. So, just keep studying, keep working hard. One of the good ways to study, like I mentioned last week, is just really to answer all the parts of the question, of every question with each discussion board. And that would really help. But also just reading through the material, highlighting the important aspects, and just revisiting those highlighted portions of your textbook. But I'm sure that those you didn't do as well will do better in the next one. Now, just want to talk a little bit about this week's discussion board. And the good news is there's only 3 questions from which to choose. So you just need to pick 2 of those questions. And they all, to some extent, have to do with the synoptic problem. Now, the first one really just asks the question, what is the synoptic problem? So you'll need to define really what that is. Then also there's some other parts to that question too. And make sure that you explain pretty thoroughly what the synoptic problem is. And then answer each part of those of that question. Now, the next one has to do with the synoptic problem as well, and it really just asks you to list and define each of the various theories that have been put forward in order to solve the problem, if you will. In other words, this question deals with the various theories that help explain or best explain the literary relationship between the synoptic gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So make sure, okay, explain what each one of the views is, all right, very clearly. Give me a representative scholar for each one. And just at the end, the last part of the question is, really just explain which one you think best solves the problem or resolves the problem. Now, what I'd like to see you do is give solid reasons for why you think one particular theory best answers that question. So just line that. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And then the last question has to do with, form criticism, source criticism, and redaction criticism. Now, you'll have to do a little digging in the book, because within the book, it talks about the criticisms in a couple different places. So make sure you define each one of those criticisms as thoroughly as possible. Okay? And then answer the other parts of the question. But I think that you guys will do a good job. No problem. All right, so here's a couple things that you need to remember. All right, so make sure just make sure you proofread your discussion boards and your replies. That's important. Kind of sorry about that. It'll help, clean up some of the errors that may be in there, both spelling and grammar. And also remember that for the original posts that you put up yourself, you have to have 5 scholarly citations, okay, at least 5. And then for the replies, you need 2 scholarly citations per reply. And I think if that's the best way to get the most possible, the best points. You've got to do those simple things, and most of you are, but a few are having a hard time there. So make sure you look at the proper footnote forms. All right, you can find those in the SOD Writing Manual, School of Divinity Writing Manual. Gives examples and everything. So that's always very helpful. And again, hey, if you guys have any questions, need some help, don't hesitate to shoot me an email. I really want to help you guys the best that I can. All right. Well, you guys have a great week, and I hope you enjoyed Memorial Day, right? All right. Take care. Blessings.